Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2013 Distinguished Alumni Dinner. My name is Bill Dean. I'm the Executive Vice President of the Texas Tech Alumni Association, and on behalf of the association and Texas Tech University, we want to welcome you to this very special event. Actually, this is the highlight of the year, I think, for the Alumni Association and for the university. And it's my pleasure to introduce to you your Master of Ceremonies for this evening, Dr. Donald Harrigan. Dr. Harrigan joined the Texas Tech faculty in 1969 and started our atmospheric science program in 1970. He has a BS in meteorology from the University of Texas, that's in Austin, and well, there are other places. An MS in meteorology from A&M, PhD in civil engineering from UT. Some people would describe that as, at least the Aggies probably would, as a nice piece of meat sandwiched in between two stale pieces of bread. He served as chair of geosciences, interim dean of arts and sciences, interim dean, and then vice president for academic affairs and research, executive vice president and provost, interim president, interim president, and interim chancellor. He's written 4 books and had 35 articles published. He's received numerous awards, including the Cavazos Award given by the Alumni Association for contributions to Texas Tech. He served on numerous boards, including the Alumni Board, the only non-Texas Tech graduate to ever serve on that board. At Texas Tech, he was responsible for creating the Honors College, the International Cultural Center, the Center for Teaching, Learning, and Technology, the University Writing Center, the Texas Tech Press, and the Texas Tech Regional Centers in Houston, Dallas, Austin, and San Antonio. Dr. Harrigan.
Well, thank you, Bill, for that very kind introduction. I still think it was a little bit brief, but nevertheless, it was a kind introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We're glad you're here, and I promise you this is going to be a memorable evening for all of us. We do have a long program, so I'm going to do my best to move it along. I'm going to try not to repeat myself or be redundant or say the same thing over and over again. As Henry VIII said to the 4th of his 6 wives, I won't keep you long. Well, first of all, congratulations to our honorees this evening, Rear Admiral John Alexander, Scott Pelley, and Dr. Robert Salem, 3 individuals who indeed bear our banners far and wide. And it's an honor and a very special privilege we have to recognize each of them this evening as distinguished alumnus of Texas Tech University. You know, the reputation of any great university is really dependent upon 3 things. It's dependent, first of all, on the productivity of the faculty. Secondly, it's dependent upon the quality of the students. And third, certainly, it's dependent upon the accomplishments of its alumni. And certainly the accomplishments of the 3 individuals we honor here tonight make us all very proud. Tonight marks the 47th annual recognition celebration, and to date, Texas Tech has recognized 173 distinguished alumni. And when you consider the number of Texas Tech alums that are out there to choose from, you realize just how special this recognition really is. Of course, sometimes numbers can be a bit deceiving. Some of you have heard the story that I've told before about the young faculty member that came to my office back when I was serving as provost, and nothing was right with this guy. You know, his teaching load was too heavy, his office was too small, he had to park too far away from the office, and his salary was too low. And finally, he stopped long enough to take a breath, and I said, "You know, George, I wish we had 100 like you." He said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, we've got 1,000, and I sure wish we just had 100. Anyway, thank you all for being here. We look forward to sharing the stories of these distinguished individuals with you. At this time, I would like to ask Alan Henry, the past president of the Alumni Association, and the only person I know who was named after a lake, to please come forward and offer our invocation. Alan.
Dr. Harrigan is one of those that you enjoy being introduced by, but you're sure glad it's over. Join me in prayer. Our Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this day of challenge, this day of opportunity, this day that brings forth so much in all of us. And our Father, we know that throughout the world there are problems. We know that there are challenges that need to be met. We especially thank you, Father, that we have these three individuals who represent Texas Tech and all of us in disseminating this news, in protecting us, and protecting our health. We thank you for Texas Tech and for what it means to us, to the nation, and to the world. We especially thank you for the students that represent so many different areas, so many different families, so many different backgrounds. We pray that you'll be with us tonight and that you will guide us safely. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Alan. Now we hope everyone enjoy the fellowship, enjoy your meal, and we will reconvene shortly. Before proceeding with the program, there are some special guests that I would like to introduce, and I would ask that they please stand and be recognized when I call your name, and then you may be reseated. Some of you may not be able to stand, so you can be reseated when you're. And the audience, I'd ask you to please hold your applause until everyone has been introduced, and then we'll give them all a big rousing hand. First of all, our state senator from Lubbock, the Honorable Robert Duncan. Bob is here with his wife, Terry. Bob, would you stand? Audiences always mind me that way. A member of the Texas Tech System Board of Regents, Nancy Neal, is with us tonight. Nancy, would you please stand? Dr. Kelly Cronin, Vice Chancellor of Institutional Advancement, and her husband Hugh are here. Kelly. Dr. Bess Haley, Associate Vice Chancellor for Institutional Advancement, and her husband, Dr. Glenn Jones. Bess, you guys don't mind well at all. I don't understand it. Mr. Scott Cooksey, Associate Vice Chancellor for Institutional Advancement, and his wife Cindy are here. Scott? Thank you. Dr. Al Sacco, Dean of the College of Engineering. Al, I know you're here. Dr. Steve Burke, Dean of the School of Medicine in the Health Sciences Center. And his wife Shirley is with us. Steve. Dr. Jerry Hudson, Dean of the College of Media and Communications, and his wife Sue, right here in front. Jim Brunges, Vice Chancellor and Chief Financial Officer for the system, and his wife Lois. Is Lois here? Lois? Why didn't I hug her neck? Hi. John Huffaker, Vice Chancellor and General Counsel, and his wife Charlotte. Is John here? And finally, we have several members of the Lubbock City Council with us this evening. Councilman Jim Gurlt, would you stand, Jim? Todd Klein and his wife Manda, would you please stand? And Latrell Joy, I believe, is with us also. Thank you very much. Now you can please show your appreciation for all these folks. Boy, I'm really good. Thank you. Incidentally, if there's anyone who was not introduced and thinks you should have been, you can stand now. Okay, at this time I'd ask that you please welcome Bill Benton, Bill is the current president of the Alumni Association National Board, and he'd like to give us a brief update on the association and some of its activities. Bill?
Greetings, and on behalf of the 21,000 members of the Texas Tech Alumni Association, welcome to our home, the McKenzie-Merket Alumni Center. The measure of any university's distinction and influence is reflected by the accomplishments of the alumni. To recognize outstanding alumni at Texas Tech University in 1967, the Texas Tech Alumni Association started the Distinguished Alumni Award in conjunction with the university. It is the highest award given at Texas Tech. Congratulations to honorees, and on behalf of the association, we appreciate your legacy of excellence. We share in your accomplishments and take pride in them. There are 7 distinguished alumni honorees who are in our audience tonight, and if you would please stand when I call your name. Senator Bob Duncan, Don Cash, Shirley Garrison, Chalk Hutchison, Dale Swinburne, and Bobby Waddle, Colonel Waddle, now serves on our board. And there is a double-degreed member tonight, and that's Kerry Hobbs. He is both a distinguished alumni and is also a former president of our Texas Tech Alumni Association Board. Thank you. You may have noticed that I said 21,000 plus. It has come to our attention that there are a few of you who are actually not members, that are alums but not members of the Texas Tech Alumni Association. Now, if there's a bit of a twinge of guilt that's passing by your pride at this moment, there is a cure. When you get home tonight, if you'll go to the www.texastechalumni.org, there's a button on the home page and it says join. And we're going to give you the opportunity to do that. You fill it out, put your credit card number in, and unlike your local gas pump, we don't stop at $100. In fact, we'll take whatever you're led to give. But it is important that you're a member and that you join with us. Now, Dr. Dean exclaims up and down the hall that he really, really likes a very cheerful, generous platinum card holder. So for those of you that are not members, please take that opportunity, because when you join, let me tell you what you've done. The Alumni Association has a program called the Young Alum Program. And what we do with that is that it's a legacy program. And so for children, grandchildren, people who want them to receive gifts and correspondence from Texas Tech, we'll start sending that to them. And you can join that program. There's 2,200 young legacy members to date. Also, each year we take a contingent of several hundred alumni to the state capitol to carry the good news of the university in conjunction with the university system. It's a project that we're very proud of, and that you would be very proud that day to be a Texas Tech alum at our state capitol. And finally, I will tell you that we have given, in 2012, we've given 385 scholarships worth over $240,000 to students and future students at Texas Tech. And those are the things that you get to join with when you click on join on our website. Many of you have had opportunities, I'm sure, to serve on boards. And it's always a pleasure to serve on boards where you have dedicated individuals. But I will tell you that it is an honor to serve on the Texas Tech Alumni Board, because they are dedicated, but they are passionate. They're passionate about Texas Tech University, and that makes the difference. We're in the middle of our spring meetings. We had our committee meetings today. We're going to have our formal board meeting tomorrow. And at this time, if all of the members of our current Texas Tech Alumni Board, would you please stand and be recognized? Thank you. Former board members that are in our audience tonight, would you please stand? And there are several. Thank you. Thank you for coming. We have 5 former board presidents that are with us tonight. As I told you, Kerry Hobbs, Alan Henry, Rex Isom, Martha Yark, and our immediate past president is David Wagner. So would you please stand? I will tell you that the logistics of an evening like tonight are incredible, as you would expect. I would like to thank Kim Ruiz, David Deason, and all of the staff at Top Tier for an absolutely fabulous dinner that they have provided for us and their effort. We hope that you enjoy this evening. Thank you for spending it with us. Rackham Tech.
Thank you very much, Bill. It's now a real privilege and a pleasure for me to introduce Dr. Lawrence Skuvenick, the interim president of Texas Tech, who's done such a truly outstanding job during this interim period. And while Lawrence is well, I thought Patty was going to be here tonight, but she's not with him. We regret that. But Lawrence has certainly done a super job for our university. Couldn't have been better, and set the stage for our new president who will be coming in shortly. So Lawrence, we'd love to have some remarks from you, please.
Thank you very much, Don. My wife is up in Plainview watching my son play baseball tonight. I can't say she would be here if she were still in town, but I never quite got her trained. It's really my pleasure to join you this evening to honor Rear Admiral John Alexander, Scott Pelley, and Dr. Robert Salem. I want to express my sincere thanks to the Texas Tech Alumni Association for continuing this type of tradition. It's these type of events that impress upon you what a special family and community Texas Tech is. Thank you, Bill, Dr. Dean, and Don for your role in tonight's event, as well as all the members of the board. I also want to extend the regrets of Chancellor Hance, who cannot be here tonight. He's a bit under the weather. I dropped by to see him this afternoon. I can assure you he's as ornery as ever. He did give me some jokes to tell, but the truth is Don already told them. And that's not a joke. I spent this past week 3 days with Chancellor Hance and other members of the Tech administration and faculty in Washington, D.C., engaged in what he called light begging. And we honed that skill on several trips to Austin. And as I say that, I really have to recognize Senator Robert Duncan. The outlook for higher ed is vastly improved over what it was a couple years ago. And we are so fortunate to have such a wise and effective leader in the state, benefiting this institution, but all of higher education. So thank you for what you do. In spite of the concerns with sequestration, our trip to DC was very positive. Tech has such a great message to take. And I'm not just saying this because I'm standing here tonight, but in almost every meeting, we would raise examples of our alumni as evidence of the kind of success and the benefit that Texas Tech provides to the state and the nation. We have such an impressive group of alumni. And for our honorees tonight, what I would say is to rise to the level of distinction that you have to be recognized is really something very special, and you are part of a very elite group. Now, although we're here to acknowledge and celebrate your success, this really isn't a celebration of the success of Texas Tech. The legacy of an institution is built on the reputation of its alumni, and you've added to that legacy in a very significant way. At the same time, what I think is so nice about an event such as this, it's really a glimpse into the future. When you look at the students on campus now, you can only imagine what kind of success they'll bring to this institution. It's the connection to our past legacy and the promise of what can be in terms of our students that make a university such an exciting place to be. Admiral Alexander, Scott, Dr. Salem, you are role models for our students. Texas Tech is very proud of you and your accomplishments. You should be incredibly proud of what you've accomplished, because we're proud of you, and congratulations.
Thank you, Lawrence. Some of you may not know that Lawrence has been actually at Texas Tech for about 30 years. He's been in the math department, professor of math. He was chairman of the math department. He was dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. And then he's come on to take on this role as interim president and has done an outstanding job. Lawrence, we really appreciate what you've done for us. Okay, this brings us to the highlight of the evening when we spotlight and celebrate the lives of this year's distinguished alums. I'd like for you to please take a moment, find the screen that's nearest you. There's a screen here up front, and I believe there are 2 screens in the back, so if you would please sort of adjust your seats where you can see the screens. We'll have a video presentation for each of our honorees, and following each video presentation, Bill Dean will present a plaque and a lapel pin on behalf of the Alumni Association, which will be then followed by acceptance remarks by the honorees. So if you're ready, we're going to begin now with the presentation for Rear Admiral John Alexander.
Rear Admiral Select John D. Alexander has had a long and distinguished career with the U.S. Navy. He is currently the Assistant Commander of Navy Personnel Command for Career Management. As a boy, Alexander dreamed of flying Navy jets. Knowing that a degree from Texas Tech University would make him competitive, he enrolled as a mechanical engineering major with the ultimate plan of joining the Navy. Alexander was also Student Association Vice President for External Affairs. But it wasn't all work and no play for John, as he was active in Sigma Chi fraternity. It was also during John's years at Texas Tech that he met his future wife, Charlotte Scott, who also graduated from Texas Tech in 1982. The Port Neches, Texas native was commissioned in December 1982 through the Aviation Officer Candidate Program and was designated a Naval Flight Officer in November 1983. In addition to graduating from Texas Tech with a Bachelor of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering, Alexander completed a Master of Arts degree in Defense Studies at King's College, London. He continued studies at the Royal Naval Staff College, Greenwich, the U.S. Navy Nuclear Propulsion Program, Joint Forces Staff College, and the Darden School of Business, University of Virginia. He completed sea duty assignments as a Bombardier Navigator, Strike Operations Officer, Aviation Department Head, and Squadron Commander. Alexander has accumulated more than 3,200 flight hours with 707 carrier-arrested landings. He took command of the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln in January 2010.
I first met John Alexander at the change of command ceremony when he was taking over command of the USS Abraham Lincoln. He had been involved a little bit with with faculty and other members in mechanical engineering, which is where he got his degree here at Texas Tech. And when he was taking command of the ship, he invited us to attend. And so the Chancellor, Kelly Overly, myself, we attended the change of command ceremony in Everett, Washington. There were probably 300 enlisted men standing on the left, 300 officers standing on the right, and in the middle another 300 people seated. We were on the front row with admirals and were introduced by name and title.
The ship we have today is 1,095 feet in length. We have 2 nuclear reactors. Like I said, we make 400,000 gallons of water a day. When we take on ordnance, we take on like 2.6 million pounds of ordnance. We make enough air conditioning to cool down 800 homes. We make 20,000 meals a day.
20,000 meals a day.
20,000 meals a day. When we drop an anchor, it's 60,000 pounds. Each of the screws that propels the ship is 21 feet in diameter. And it's all about peace and prosperity and trying to prevent wars. And you hear a lot about us in enduring freedom, projecting power, but what people don't hear a lot of time is the fact that just through presence we deter combat, deter wars. We have a large humanitarian assistance disaster relief role.
So what sort of things did you all do in Haiti?
Providing assistance ashore, doctors, medical supplies, water, stuff. We bring stuff. We can make 400,000 gallons of water a day. We have a hospital that can hold 43 people. We have surgeons, doctors, maxillofacial surgeons. Just about everything we do can contribute to disaster relief or any type of humanitarian assistance that's needed.
During a trip to Texas Tech in October 2011, Alexander visited with students, faculty, and staff about his unique experience in the Navy and emphasized the importance of education and great communication.
The most impressive thing about Admiral Alexander is his ability to lead a tremendous organization of the USS Abraham Lincoln in command of that ship with 5,000 men and women on it, most of whom were 22, 23 years old. That's where I really saw his leadership in action, how his men and women and his officers respected him, and he flew the Texas Tech flag. It was great. He was really proud to be a Red Raider. He was proud to have his friends and people from Texas Tech on board. And it was a really special experience for us, and he seemed to have a pretty good time too.
The average sailor on board the Abraham Lincoln is around 22 years old. In a matter of 2 years, we train them, and then they're here, and they will be managing anywhere from 10 to 20 people by the age of 20. And then can potentially leave and make, go to college and get $80,000 for the GI Bill.
There's 2 things that he loves, and it's very obvious: Texas Tech and the Navy. When he's in uniform, he's walking and talking Navy, but the Red Raider things come out of his mouth too, and he makes his love for this place very well known.
Another important component of John Alexander's life is family. He and Charlotte and their son Andrew and daughter Casey have enjoyed a colorful life and have remained well connected.
John, you are truly a deserving, distinguished alumni of that great Texas Tech University. You are a significant brother of Sigma Chi, and you are a great American hero. John, congratulations, and we send you and your dear family our best wishes and bid you Godspeed.
Admiral John Alexander, your example of upholding high standards, integrity, and positive leadership demonstrates your commitment to a lifetime of service. The Texas Tech Alumni Association is honored to present you with the Distinguished Alumnus Award for 2013.
Thank you. I will tell you, enormously proud, incredibly humbled to be in company with Scott Pelley and Dr. Salem. Thank you very much. I think the words that Bill Benton used were passionate. I would never waste an opportunity to tell anybody where I go about Texas Tech University. All the good things that happened in my adult life started here. I showed up at 18, joined Sigma Chi fraternity. Those brothers became the friends for life. I changed my major to mechanical engineering, partly because of those guys and partly because I wanted to fly aircraft for the United States Navy. I joined the Navy here at the same recruiting station that exists across University in Bras, been there forever. I met my wife here, and so I came to school. I found lifelong friends, I found a profession, and I found a wife. Can't beat that, can you? But I will tell you, We've been married 30 years this coming summer. We have moved 13 times. I've been deployed 9 times. And there is seldom anywhere I go that I cannot find somebody from Texas Tech that's either attended, graduated, grew up here, knows somebody who grew up here, or had family here. This is a phenomenal institution, led by phenomenal people, and everywhere you go, there's a Red Raider, and I'm proud to be one. Thank you.
October 29, 2012. Superstorm Sandy was bearing down on the eastern seaboard, and Scott Pelley was in the thick of the action.
States is a Category 1 hurricane with winds of 75 miles an hour.
24 people from the CBS Evening News set up shop in a restaurant in the Jersey Shore. Immediately after the broadcast, the police chief ordered their evacuation.
And not 15 minutes later, the restaurant fell into the sea.
Today, his schedule is not quite so dramatic.
Still dressing.
But every bit is hectic. As managing editor of the CBS Evening News, Pelley regularly works 11 and 12-hour days.
Hello, John.
Playing an integral role in deciding what will and will not make the final cut for the broadcast.
You know, if there's anything that the NRA has suggested that the White House is taking on board, Garrett should highlight that for us.
Pelley has a second full-time job.
Hey, everybody.
As a correspondent for 60 Minutes.
I have a streak of stubbornness in me.
We caught his team working on a profile of Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor.
After 4 years, she had to clear her mind. And
Pelley's come a long way since he landed his first news job as a copy boy at the Lubbock Avalanche Journal.
all the news of the world came into my wire room. So I knew everything first, and then I could come out of the wire room and tell people what had happened. I loved that as a boy. The first time I walked into a newsroom, I said to myself, this is for me.
He continued as a journalism student at Texas Tech University. During the day, he attended the School of Journalism and produced the 10 o'clock news at Lubbock's ABC TV station at night.
Last night, someone broke into this North Lubbock apartment, burglarized it, then set it afire.
The core of Pelley's philosophy of fairness and accuracy was forged in the classroom at Tech and practiced in the studio.
The Southwest region also has its share of the growing influence peddling scandal.
10 years later, he joined CBS as a correspondent in Dallas, but he could not imagine where that would lead.
Taking over as the managing editor of the Evening News or being a correspondent on 60 Minutes, it was too wild a dream for me to even imagine.
Stand by in 5, 4, 3.
In the last year, the CBS Evening News has won both of broadcast journalism's most prestigious awards.
Around the world.
60 Minutes remains in the top 10 of all television shows, 45 years after its debut.
Thank you so very much. I really like your script.
It is all a team effort, and Pelley reminds himself of the sacrifices his colleagues have made. On his desk, hidden from public view, are the photographs of the 15 CBS News journalists who have been killed in the line of duty.
I keep them on the set because I don't ever want to forget them, and I don't want to forget what people are doing all around the world for the CBS Evening News every single day. Maybe we should ask research to look into this.
In the newsroom, his is the voice of Middle America, of the lumberyard owners and cafe keepers that echo in his own past. A Texas voice that carries on one of the proudest legacies of broadcast journalism.
The most important thing about this job, it's not the anchorman part, it's the 11 hours before I sit down in this chair, making sure that we're upholding the highest values of CBS News.
Roll 3A track.
This is the CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley.
Good evening. The winter storm that caused so much trouble.
Scott, the anchor chair on the CBS Evening News is a long way from the AJ and KMAC newsrooms. And as you said, more than you could have ever imagined. While we champion and share your outstanding success with the world, we appreciate the West Texas humility you have maintained. The Texas Tech Alumni Association is pleased to present you with the Distinguished Alumnus Award for 2013.
Oh, thank you very much, Bill. So good to be with you, and so good to be with all of you. There must be some mistake. You know, when you think about the commander of the USS Abraham Lincoln, a pioneering heart surgeon who helped found the medical school here at the university, you just think of the titles alone: Doctor, Admiral, and Scott. When I read the list of the other honorees, I thought to myself, there has to be some mistake. I'm a reporter. I write about guys like these. That's what I do. You know, it's so wonderful to be back home. I grew up here. Lubbock and this region of ours, the Llano Estacado, are my home. And the people that I descend from and the people who built our university are the people who stuck with this land through the Great Depression and through the Dust Bowl. Those were visionary people, tough people. The president of Texas Tech University, Bradford Knapp, in the 1930s, grew the university through the Great Depression. When there was no money to build buildings, he went to Washington and got the WPA to come down here and build buildings. He added such innovations to this university as paved roads and a golf course. A golf course during the Dust Bowl. Now that is vision. And exactly the kind of thing that we expect here at Texas Tech University. I'm so pleased that my wife, Jane, is here with us tonight. We have a son. Our little boy is 21 years old. Our little girl is 18 years old, and I share none of the accomplishments of Admiral Alexander, save one. We will be married 30 years this summer. You know, I mentioned the Llano Estacado, and I tell my audiences around the country that that means staked plain. And the legend is, at least according to many, that the plain was so vast, so uncharted, that stakes were driven so that people could follow the path through the Llano Estacado. My favorite quote about the Llano Estacado comes from the first European who ever saw it, and that was Coronado, of course. Coronado wrote this about the Llano Estacado: "I reached some plains so vast that I did not find their limit anywhere. With no more landmarks than if we had been swallowed up by the sea, there was not a stone, nor a bit of rising ground, nor a tree, nor a shrub, nor anything to go by." You know, it's said that the Llano Estacado is 15% grassland and 85% sky. And that's not such a bad thing, because the sky is a fertile ground in which to plant our dreams. You know, there's one thing that our university, despite all of its amazing accomplishments, there's one thing that our university is not good at. Texas Tech University has never been, and is not today, good at teaching our students about limits and about constraints. There is no Department of the Impossible here. Had there been a Department of the Impossible, a young man from Port Neches might not have held too closely to the dream of becoming a naval aviator. A young man from Ranger, Texas might not have held too closely to the dream of becoming one of the world's great surgeons. And yet, with an education in engineering and an education in chemistry, and a somewhat acceptable education in journalism, like thousands of other Texas Tech students, we took our dreams and we drove them like stakes in a plane of the imagination that was limitless to the horizon. Texas Tech University has no department of impossible. Instead, the university offers its students the horizon and says, from here, it is possible. Ladies and gentlemen, Jane and I are so honored to be here tonight, so honored to accept this wonderful, wonderful award, and we have to accept it on behalf of the thousands of men and women at CBS News and of all of my former professors here who are shaking their heads in dismay. The people at CBS News who are the true talent behind whatever success we may have enjoyed, who toil long hours in dangerous places to provide our audience with the best in broadcast news. I am so humbly grateful for your honor. Thank you very, very much. Proud to be with you. Guns up.
I want to tell you about a physician who has been a leader in the cardiology field for more than 50 years, renowned for his role in bringing heart surgery to the South Plains of Texas and helping Texas Tech University establish its own medical school. He's the reason that little girls like the girls from Honduras are with us tonight. He's long been involved in saving lives beyond those who come to his office. His compassion and concern for patients and doctors who support them unsurpassed. He's considered an icon in South Texas, and I was there to see it. He's been a mentor to some of the most extraordinarily talented heart surgeons in this country. It's this kind of generosity and selflessness and vision that's the basis of the Larry Cardiac Foundation Physician Laureate Award. Dr. Robert Salem emulates each of these outstanding qualities and more. Please welcome our 2012 Physician Laureate honoree, Dr. Robert Salem.
Robert Salem started his life in West Texas in the small town of Sudan, just 1 hour from Lubbock. As a teenager, he worked in the family store and on farms throughout the community of Sudan. He was active in both football and basketball at his school. He served as class president his senior year and was named valedictorian. Dr. Salem made the choice to attend Texas Technological College due to the proximity to his home. He served on the student council and was the president of Silver Key Fraternity. He completed his undergrad and earned a bachelor's degree in chemistry from Tech in 1950. He then went on to medical school at Southwestern Medical School in Dallas and graduated in the top 10% of his class. While in medical school during the Korean War, he was commissioned as a first lieutenant in the United States Air Force and served an internship at Fitzsimmons Army Hospital in Denver. While there, he served on a medical team that treated sitting President Dwight Eisenhower, who was admitted there for a heart attack. His subsequent assignment led him to Paris, France, the headquarters of NATO at the time, to be stationed at a strategic Air Force hospital where he flew on diplomatic and air evacuation flights over much of Europe for 2 years. While there, he spent time operating with a colonel surgeon and as a result, applied for a surgery residency in Houston. In 1958, after discharge from the Air Force, he began his surgical training in Houston at the beginning of the modern era of cardiovascular surgery, and worked under the tutelage of two of the most renowned cardiovascular surgeons of the 20th century, Michael E. DeBakey, MD, and Denton Cooley, MD. He maintained a personal relationship with both that has had a profound impact on both his personal and professional life. After the completion of his residency, Dr. Salem returned to Lubbock and founded SWAT Surgical Associates, and in the late 60s was named Chief of Staff at Methodist Hospital. He pioneered peripheral vascular surgery in West Texas and is renowned for his role in bringing heart surgery to the South Plains of Texas. In 1970, he developed the first open heart surgical program at Methodist Hospital in Lubbock, assisting on the first open heart surgery with Donald Bricker, MD. During this time, the Texas Tech Medical School bill was signed into place by the Governor of Texas, Preston Smith. When the medical school at Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center opened, Dr. John Bessler was named the first dean, and Salem became the first chairman of the Department of Surgery. Later, he began serving as a clinical professor of surgery, a position he still holds.
This needed everything in the health field, not only physicians. They needed nurses, they needed pharmacists.
The physician to population in the metropolitan areas was about one physician for every 600 people, whereas out in West Texas it was about one physician for every 1,300. So we needed to have a school out here to generate physicians. George Steiner, who I think succeeded Dr. Bessler as dean, called me over one day and said that the students were complaining that they didn't like lectures on 7 o'clock on Saturday morning. Furthermore, they wanted every other Saturday off. Well, that sort of infuriated me. And the more I thought about it, the madder I got, and I went back to Dr. Steiner. I said, George, I said, you know, 7 o'clock Saturday morning is a bad time for surgery lectures. I said, you tell your students that from now on we're going to have them at 6:30. And furthermore, I'm going to call the roll. And furthermore, the final exam in surgery is going to be just on my lecture. So if they're not there, I don't know how they're going to pass surgery. That was the end of that. 100% attendance from then on.
He is also recognized for serving as the first president and founding member of the Texas Tech University School of Medicine Foundation Board. During the continued advancement of cardiovascular surgery in Lubbock and the expansion of Methodist Hospital, Salem served as president of multiple societies, including the Lubbock-Crosby-Garza County Medical Society, the Lubbock Heart Association, and the American Cancer Society Lubbock chapter. In 1980, Salem married the beautiful Kay Rogers. In 1992, Salem was appointed medical director of Methodist Hospital and received the Lubbock-Crosby-Garza County Medical Society's Hippocratic Award. In 2004, Salem began the Covenant Heart Institute Michael E. DeBakey, MD, Distinguished Lectureship Series, currently in its 10th year, and has brought in world-renowned physicians and friends. In 2004, Dr. Michael E. DeBakey, MD, was the inaugural speaker, followed by Wayne Isom, MD, in 2005, George Noon, MD, in 2006, John Oshner, MD, in 2007, Ted Dietrich, MD, in 2008, Kenneth Maddox in 2009, Denton Cooley, MD, in 2010, Bud Frazier, MD, in 2011, and Joseph Caselli, MD, in 2012. In 2008, at the personal invitation of his friend and mentor, Salem attended the Congressional Gold Medal ceremony in the Capitol at Washington, D.C., honoring Michael E. DeBakey, MD. And in 2010, Salem was elected president of the Michael E. DeBakey, MD, International Surgical Society, and served in that prestigious role for 2 years. 2010 was a busy year for Salem. He released his first book, Sandstorms and Surgery, which reflects on his prestigious career. Covenant Health established the Robert J. Salem, MD, Historical Collection, a tribute to his long-lasting effect on West Texas, and August 3, 2010 was proclaimed Robert J. Salem, MD Day in Lubbock by Mayor Tom Martin. With his family by his side, Salem's memories and achievements in 2010 were widespread. In 2011, shortly after Salem was named Chief Medical Officer Emeritus of Covenant Health, his first surgical resident at Tech, Dr. Craig Ryan, was named his successor as Chief Medical Officer. Also, in 2011, Salem worked with Samaritan's Purse, Covenant Health, and the Larry King Cardiac Foundation to bring 2 Honduran girls to Lubbock to undergo cardiovascular surgery to repair damaged hearts with successful surgeries. In 2012, Salem was the recipient of the Larry King Cardiac Foundation Physicians Laureate Award for his long-standing commitments to the finest medical innovations, ethics, and advancements at a black tie affair in Washington, D.C. An August 31, 2006 feature article in the Lubbock Avalanche Journal recounted the distinguished career and citizenship of Salem and summed it up thoroughly. He is considered the rarest type of physician, a doctor who combines extraordinary compassion with exceptional precision and skill. Dr. Salem, because of your exceptional career and citizenship, it is our honor to name you a distinguished alumnus of Texas Tech University.
Thank you so much, everyone, for that warm reception. And let me just say what an honor and privilege it is for me to be on the same stage with Admiral Alexander and Scott Pelley as one of the distinguished alumni for this year. And to have to follow Scott Pelley, you know, I wish I were following a comedy act. I might be better served. But as one looks back through his life and career at the things that he's done, he remembers things that he could have done better, things that didn't get done at all, and but more especially the people that have helped him along the way and impacted his life. And in the very few moments tonight, I just want to mention a few of those people, starting with my parents. Scott referred to the Great Depression, and growing up in the Great Depression and in the middle of the Dust Bowl were certainly not the best of times. But our parents seemed to always provide my sister and me with the essentials of life and then a subsequent college education. And when I did arrive at Tech, I had just turned 17. World War II had just ended. The campus and the city were flooded with veterans several years older than I, and they immediately occupied all the dorms, rented all the apartments in town. I couldn't even find a bedroom to rent. So consequently, I had to commute back and forth daily that first semester from Sudan, 100 miles round trip. And the problem with that was I didn't have a car. So I had to generate my own transportation, which consisted of hitchhiking, which was fairly common back in those days and very inexpensive. In fact, I sometimes made a little money on the deal because they felt so far for me they'd give me a quarter to buy a hamburger. Or sometimes I'd ride the Greyhound bus or walk a few miles or try to find a ride with somebody going my way. But my salvation turned out to be another guy from Sudan, H.J. Doc Blanchard, a veteran with a car. And much of the time I could ride back and forth with him, but on days when our schedules didn't mesh, I had to polish up the old thumb. But Doc would later become a Texas state senator, and he spearheaded the bill through the Senate creating a medical school for Texas Tech. And I was so proud to be able to work with him and Governor Smith and Mayor of Lubbock at the time, Doug Rogers, my future father-in-law, although I didn't know it at the time, as well as President Grover Murray, to help establish a medical school for my alma mater and to help get it started. And there's little question in my mind that this medical school is becoming one of the most prominent schools in the country under the tenure of Dean Burke, and certainly these past 8 years. And certainly is fulfilling its mission to provide physicians for the medically underserved people of West Texas. Now, layer on top of that, the recent historic milestone that Texas Tech proper has just reached under the dynamic leadership of Chancellor Hance and Vice Chancellor Cronin in attaining its $1 billion Vision and Tradition campaign, placing Tech among the elite, in the elite category of all universities in the country, and certainly all of our hearts swell with pride. Well, while my father was the moral compass in my life, my surgical mentor, Dr. Michael DeBakey, was my professional compass. He taught me the art and science of surgery, and among many other things, what a hard work ethic really was. A 20-hour day was the norm, and to always to strive for excellence and perfection in everything you did. Every detail of every operation should be well thought out in your mind. Every movement of your hands should be purposeful, and every stitch you take should be perfectly placed. And anything less than perfection was simply not acceptable. And so consequently, over the past 50 years now, we have tried to provide and to promote, both personally and through our sphere of influence, the highest quality of surgical care possible for the people of West Texas, acknowledging God's grace along the way, and with the constant support of my loving wife, Kay, for 32 of those 50 years, along with countless colleagues and other family members. This has been my passion and my mission, and I am so grateful to this great university, Texas Tech, for providing me with that initial educational experience and stimulus to propel me on my mission, as well as to Covenant Health and Richard Park, CEO, for the opportunity and platform to continue that mission to this very day and beyond. Thank you so much again for this wonderful honor, and guns up. Thank you so much, and I do want to recognize my immediate family here tonight, if I may. My wife, Kay, I just mentioned, of 32 years. 3 of my daughters are here tonight: Sharon Wild of New Braunfels, Kelly Reed and her husband Chad of Levelland, Lauren Matthews and husband Ryan of Fort Worth, and my sister Betty Corey of Dallas. And I've got 2 tables of grandchildren, nieces and nephews from Houston, Dallas, New Braunfels, Colorado, and Arkansas. Thank you.
Well, that's pretty overwhelming. At this time, I'm going to ask President Skuvenik if he would please come back to the stage and present university medallions to each of our honorees. President Skuvenik. Would each of the honorees please come up to the stage, if you would, please? And we're going to hang these hubcaps on you.
Just what he needed, another medal.
If I could, I'd like to take just a moment to correct the fact that I missed a couple on my introductions. It always happens that way, but these happen to be 2 pretty important people that I didn't mention. The first person is the guy that holds the purse strings for the university. He's Vice President for Fiscal Affairs, Mr. Kyle Clark. Kyle, would you please stand up and be recognized? And secondly is a guy that's equally important because he's the guy who decides how to spend some of that money that Kyle's taken care of in academics, and that's our provost, Dr. Bob Smith. Bob, would you please stand up and be recognized? And I certainly apologize for not recognizing you earlier in the ceremony. Before we adjourn, too, I'd like to acknowledge Mike Ogletree of Ogletree Productions for the fantastic video presentations that we had this evening. And now, one more time, let's say congratulations and express our appreciation and our respect for tonight's honorees. Please stand and let's recognize these guys. Thank you very much. That concludes our festivities, and we thank each of you for sharing this occasion with us this evening. Good night.